When I think of the prototypical and stereotypical Penn State University quarterback, I think of the following things. Physically big, a big, strong arm, competes, makes great decisions, is not your Hollywood stereotype, central casting type QB, but gets it done, and he wins a bunch of games. Current Penn State quarterback Drew Allar checks all of those boxes, and he's the subject of today's My Take. This is QB Unfiltered, Penn State quarterback Drew Allar.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up and make a statement.
Okay, this is a request from a subscriber. And guys, if you want to put quarterbacks down in the comments, guys that you like, your favorite college quarterback or NFL quarterback, or it could even be QB's former quarterbacks. Give me your requests. I'll do the best I can to give you my take and analyze these guys according to what I think. I'm happy to do it. The last one I did on Utah's quarterback Cam Rising was also a ask by a subscriber. And like I said, guys, I'm more than happy to do it. So let me know in the comments. Okay, before we get started here, much like last week when I asked, help me out on what a Utah Ute is, I need to know what a Nittany Lion is. All you Penn State aficionados and gurus out there, let me know what a Nittany Lion is. Okay, Drew Allar, 6'5", 245-pound junior quarterback out of the great state of Ohio. He played his high school ball at Medina High School. And this is kind of an interesting little tidbit about him. When he was coming out as a senior in high school, he was rated as a 3-star quarterback. As soon as he committed to Penn State, that was bumped up to a 4-star and then eventually to the top of the ladder as a 5-star. Now, how does that work? That was before he took a snap in college football. He went from a 3 to a 4 to a 5-star. Interesting. So this is a brief history of Drew Allar. He was a true freshman for Penn State in 2022. He was a backup, and he played in a lot of games that year, but it was mostly in mop-up duty. He ended up throwing for 344 yards and 4 touchdowns. And then that jumps us into this past season, 2023, where he was the man, the starter. He started all 13 games and led Penn State to a 10-3 record. The end of that season, this last year, they played in the Peach Bowl where he lost to Ole Miss and their quarterback, their great quarterback, Jackson Dart, by the score of 38-25. Now, last season, Allar threw for 2,631 yards, and this is the really impressive part. He threw 25 touchdowns with only 2 interceptions, and that put him second in the nation to Bo Nix in touchdown to interception ratio at 15-1. That's pretty damn good. So I really only have one season to evaluate Drew Allar, and that was this past year. And what makes this so tricky is the fact that he played this past season behind one of the most suspect offensive lines in Division I football. And it's truly, truly amazing to me. Much like when I talked about USC's defense, they are US frickin' C. Well, this is Penn frickin' State. And Penn State gets the dudes, okay? It's not as pronounced as it was when Paterno was there. And let's just say the talent wasn't as spread out across the country as it is now. And Penn State used to get all the blue chippers at every position, but they're still Penn State. They still go out and recruit their ass off, and they bring in the best of the best to play for them. But their offensive line this year, holy cow. I talked about Colorado and their O-line and how they don't use not traditional. They don't use the air raid vertical set with their offensive linemen, meaning on the snap of the ball, they back straight up, 3-4 steps. And what that does is it creates a buffer between them and the D line and linebackers. And it also slows stuff down, and it crystallizes what is happening in front of them for pass protection. And I'm talking about twisting. I'm talking about, bringing D line to gaps and bringing linebackers to fill into other gaps. And when you vertically set off the ball, you're able to see all of that stuff develop in front of you, and it makes it much easier to pass block. Penn State, much like Colorado, and even more pronounced than Colorado, their offensive linemen on the snap of the ball are trying to immediately block the guys in front of them. And what makes it worse is they've got offensive linemen on the snap of the ball are dropping their head right now, trying to headbutt on pass pro. And when offensive linemen do that, it's whiff city. It's whiff city. They drop their head, the guys buy them, and it's over. And that happens a lot watching Penn State play. The other thing with Penn State, and this is kind of surprising to me as well, they get offensive linemen that absolutely get overpowered with bull rushers. Guys that just say, I'm not going to put any move on you. I'm not going to try any technique. I'm just going to hit your ass in the mouth, and I'm going to pile drive you straight back into the quarterback's lap. And they get offensive linemen that just absolutely are put on skates and pushed all the way back into Allar's face, which make it extremely difficult for him. So at the end of the day, you've got basically one season to evaluate him. And it's not a 100% picture on what he really can do skill-wise, because his offensive line just wasn't very good. Okay, with that being said, let's jump into what I like about Drew Allar's game. Number one, he doesn't make mistakes. Okay, this is the absolute number one skill that a quarterback has to have. It's not arm strength. It's not accuracy. It's not speed. It's not the ability to extend plays. It's not the ability to be a creator. None of that. It is what kind of a decision maker is he when the ball is snapped? Because if he's not a great decision maker, all the rest of his physical skills doesn't matter. Okay? Allar makes good decisions. How do you know that? Well, the fact that he threw 2 picks last year, he's making the right call. He's throwing to the right receivers. He's getting the ball out of his hand if it needs to happen that way, and he's pulling it down if he needs to do that, or he's throwing it away if he needs to do that. So he's making great decisions. Okay. Again, I can't say this enough. The 25 touchdowns and only 2 picks, that's really, really good. So he's taking care of the football. And guys, turnovers will hurt you fast and hurt you bad on the football field. If your offense is turning the ball over, whether it's picks or fumbles, you're not going to win a lot of football games, and he doesn't do that. So that makes him, really, really effective for Penn State. Okay, and he wins games. And this is the bottom line for any quarterback, whether you're throwing the rock or you're handing it off or a mix of both or whatever. Are you winning football games? That's the bottom line. And when you win 10 games your first year as a starter, that qualifies you as a guy that's winning football games. So a lot of that has to do with his defense. Penn State had a really good defense last year, but the other part of it is what I just talked about. He's not hurting their offense by doing silly things with the decision making. Okay, next, Allar executes the Nittany Lions scheme. Now, I wouldn't exactly call their offensive scheme a razzle-dazzle, fun offense to run or to watch, but they're effective in what they do, and what they ask him to do, he does really, really well. He executes their offense, and that's what your quarterback's job is to do. Execute the offense the way that it's drawn up and the way that the offensive coordinator wants it run. If you do that and you make great decisions, you're going to win a lot of football games. Okay, he throws a really nice deep ball, and if you've listened to me before, you know what the deal is with the outside verticals in the post. You got to put air underneath it, let your receiver go get it. I call it throwing a 3, and he does a really nice job with deep throws. And because Penn State's offensive line is an adventure, the other thing that I like about Drew Allar, he does a hell of a job throwing the ball with guys coming right at him head on, and he knows he's going to get freaking hammered after he releases the ball, whether it's his guard or his center dropping their head and whiffing right away, and you got a guy with a wind sprint coming right at you, and you're sort of penned in from the sides so you can't get out and escape. Part of a quarterback's job is to deliver the ball and take a hit. That's his job. And Allar doesn't let the fact that a guy is coming at him with a full head of steam and he's going to get lit up, he doesn't let that affect his throw and his accuracy. He stands in there, delivers the ball, and then tries to protect himself as best he can. Along with that, you know, he can feel and sense. You can see, I mean, I'm looking right at my camera right now, and I can see what's going on out here on the peripheral. He can see those guys coming from his flanks too, and it doesn't affect his throws. So he does a nice job delivering the rock, and then tries to protect himself as best he can. Okay, he's got great ball carriage, you know, tip of the ball, top of the numbers, and he's got a really quick release, and he's really smooth. When he's able to throw, you know, the way he wants to do it, his release is smooth and almost effortlessly, and there's no wasted motion. You know, it's here and then it's push it up and back, and he gets it through nice and smooth. He does a good job with that. All right. This is what I don't like about Drew Allar's game. And again, a lot of these things that I'm talking about at the end of the day can come back to him having to throw the ball off platform, meaning he's getting to the end of his drop, and instead of hitch stride throw or stride throw, he's got to move one way or the other, or slide up in the pocket, hitch up in the pocket, and deliver the ball. So, you know, for him, it's not an idealistic world every time he drops back to throw, but he makes a lot of throws off balance. Okay. And I'm going to get into this a little bit more as we talk about the things that I don't necessarily like about his game, but he makes some throws off balance. And, when he's forced to move, all right, he doesn't, I don't think he's got a really good ability to consistently flip his hips or pat his feet down and get his feet under his base or platform to where they should be and throw it. And that affects his accuracy. When you're throwing off balance as a quarterback, that affects your accuracy greatly. And then this one gets him in trouble. He chokes off his throws every now and again. There's two things that I think get him in trouble in this regard. When he chokes off his throws, that's when you come through. Okay, the ball just came off of that index finger, right? It's now off the hand, and you bring that thing through with the follow through, and that allows you to get that that full added juice and energy going into your throw. Well, choking off your throw is that ball comes off the index finger, and instead of bringing that hand down and across your body to your opposite front pocket, he stops it right there. He stops it right there. And what that does is it interrupts that energy part. And if you look at some of these clips, when he does that, what happens to his ball? It dives down, it dies out as it goes through the air at the end of that throw. So as a result, a lot of those throws are low for his receivers. They have to go down and get them. Okay. And that's a direct result of him stopping that energy flow into that throw by not snapping it off and bringing that hand down across in that full follow through. Okay. Now with that, he also makes throws where he keeps his weight back. Now I've talked about this before in other shows where, and particularly this last one on Cam Rising, Utah's quarterback, where I said he gets on top of his throw, where he is picking that back foot up off the ground. That weight is totally on that front foot, and he's getting on top of his throw and throwing it off the mound. A lot of times, Allar will throw the ball, and that back foot will barely move, and you can also see, it's obvious that you can see that he's keeping his weight back. Now, he's able to stride and throw, but he's keeping that weight back when he does it. And when you do that, again, you can't get all that energy and oomph into the throw. You can get it to your receiver and you can be pretty accurate doing it, but you're throwing a really, really soft ball. And if he does that and chokes the throw off where he stops that follow through process, that's where he gets the balls that start to dive at the end. Now, those two things lead me to this that I don't like about Allar. His completion percentage. He is 59%. 59% is not good enough. Okay, in this day and age, your quarterback has to be 60% or higher, and 60% really is the bottom line. Okay, it's like in baseball, they called it the Mendoza line, was below 200. That was below the Mendoza line. That meant that you were probably playing shortstop, all field, no hit. Well, when you're throwing the ball at less than 60% completion percentage, that's not good enough. And in reality, that needs to be up at 65% should be the bottom line, and it should be even higher than that. You know, if your quarterback is making the right decisions, throwing to the right guys, and Allar does make great decisions, and if he's accurate with his throws and consistently accurate, his completion percentage should be in the upper 60s to low 70s. All right. And he's at 59%. And I think there's three reasons for this. Number one is the pass protection in front of him. Number two is he gets himself in trouble sometimes with his feet. Number three, he gets himself in trouble sometimes by choking that throw off, keeping his weight back, throwing off that, not throwing off the back foot, but keeping that weight back on his back foot. All those things lead to inaccuracies. And the other thing that I can throw in there is he's got a little bit of Drake May in him. Drake May, when he was playing for North Carolina, at times you would see him throw, and when he would stride, here's his back foot. When he would stride, his front foot hit the ground right in front of his back foot. And when you do that, you close your hips. You can't open your hips. And when you're throwing the ball as a quarterback, it's like a baseball pitcher. Both hips, both shoulders have to be facing your target. That's where you get the accuracy. Well, when you're striding like that, where your front foot lands right in front of your back foot, you close your hips. And what you're doing in reality is you're throwing across your body. And that affects accuracy greatly. So all of those things go into the fact that he's completing 59% of his passes. That needs to be much higher. Okay, so again, I said this earlier, I'd really like to see him operate behind a more consistent offensive line with their pass protection. We get a much more accurate account of his skill set and his ability as a passer. But he's a get it done type of guy because he competes his ass off. You can tell that he is tough and his teammates believe in him. And the number one thing that he does, he makes great decisions. And that's the number one skill that a quarterback has to have. That, with not turning the ball over, that equals wins for the Penn State Nittany Lions. Okay, if you enjoyed today's show, please hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. If you want more insight or you enjoy my insight into playing the absolute hardest position to play in all of sports, the quarterback, then hit the like and subscribe. I greatly appreciate it. This is QB Unfiltered, and remember, always throw the ball short to guys who can score. See ya.
I don't ever slow up, no I don't take shit. I got no love for the fakeness. If you wanna play tough and wanna hate this, I'll always show up.